Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. We're now into session 2 of the conference, and the title of session 2 is the role of the professional accountancy organisations in attracting, retaining and upskilling their SMP membership. We have 2 panellists with me, and they will each give a presentation of approximately 20 minutes. And then whatever time we have left over, I'll get started with a couple of questions and then open it up to you, the audience. What I'll do before I ask our first speaker to stand up and present is just say a few words of introduction to the 2 guys that are sitting to my left. They are on the end, Stephen Heathcote. Stephen is the Chief Executive Officer of Prime Global. And Prime Global, as the name would suggest, is a global association or alliance of primarily small and medium-sized practices around the world, practices that are offering accounting and advisory services. Stephen has quite a long career with a lot of time spent working for one of the world's largest professional accountancy organisations, that's ACCA. He worked for them as an executive director for a number of years, and prior to joining Prime Global was ACCA's Chief Operating Officer. I also have to my left Carlos Manish. Now, Carlos is from Portugal, and he's from the city of Braga to the north, as I understand, if my geography is correct. Now, Carlos is a professor of accounting at the University of Minho here in Portugal. He spent many years, however, in various roles in the Portuguese government, but he spent perhaps the bulk of his career in academia, actively lecturing in accounting and researching in accounting. He's also a member of the Portuguese Accounting Standards Board and has been since 2019, so some 4 years now. And he has since June 2018 been a director of EFAA. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Stephen. He's going to get us rolling with the presentation. Thank you, Stephen.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you have energy. You've had hopefully had some of those cakes, and the sugar is kicking in about now, and you're ready for the session ahead. So, Carlos and myself, we've been asked to talk about the role of professional accounting organisations in attracting, retaining, and upskilling small, medium-sized practices. But I think to be able to answer that question, you have to understand what do small, medium practices actually need from their PEOs. And I speak to many practices around the world, and it is undoubtedly the case the biggest challenge at the moment is around talent and getting the right people. And we're hearing that everywhere, and this conference is very timely because it's focusing on that critical issue. And this is a real problem. It's not just a problem for practices, it's a problem for society, because we know over 90% of businesses in nearly all economies are small, medium-sized companies, and they need professional accountants. They need accountants to help them with the cost of living crisis. We have high inflation, interest rates, they need help with moving to a digital world, they need audits done. So we need to be tackling this together in partnership. To tell you a little bit more about Prime Global, and this is the lens I'm coming from, we do have, as Paul was saying, we have different practices around the world. They're all independent firms, and it's very diverse. And they join Prime Global because they want to help their clients. If their clients have need services that they don't provide, they can pass them to someone they trust. If they need international work, they can get that done as well. But more importantly than that, we are trying to help them get ready for the future. And that's where working with the PAOs is so vitally important for us. I just wanted to show you this because we have changed the way we describe ourselves. Only a year ago, we used to say that we were an association of accounting firms, and now we're saying we're an association of advisory and accounting firms. And that's a really, really important shift when you think about upskilling, because more and more, the traditional work that firms were completing, tax preparation, accounting preparation, it's becoming much less profitable, and it's becoming more and more automated. And we're trying to help the firms move far more into an advisory space where they can help companies with looking ahead, using data, using business intelligence to help them grow and thrive in a changing environment. And that's tough because it's a complete change in mindset for many, many accountants that are within our association. And this, again, is where we need to work with PAOs. And I mentioned technology, and technology is having a rapid impact very, very quickly. So we've all been reading about artificial intelligence. Has everyone been playing around with ChatGPT, if it's allowed in, I know it's not allowed in every country. Has anyone had a go on ChatGPT? I think there's a lot of nodding heads. And it is impressive. So I actually asked ChatGPT the question that Paul had set me, which is, how can professional accounting organisations help SMPs? And this is the answer it came up with. It's not very concise, ChatGPT. It could work on being a bit more concise. But there are a few words in here which I think are very relevant. It talks about, in terms of attracting SMP members, it's important for a PAO to have a qualification that the next generation want to take. So they've got certifications which are valued. And then it also talks about what the PAO has to do is provide help with regulatory compliance, and it has to help with training as well. And importantly, in the third point here, it says the PAO has to help upskill the SMP. So it has to help them with dealing with artificial intelligence, there we go, and it has to help with blockchain as well. It's not bad. So we're not quite at the point where Carlos and myself need to go home, because it doesn't tell you how to do this. So let's have a look at some of the things actually that are happening within the accounting firms who are working with PAOs. Now, one of the benefits of joining groups like Prime Global, and it's the same for EFAA as well, and for IFAC, is effectively what we're doing is we're bringing all the firms into one place. It's a bit like ships in a harbour. And a firm by itself, they're not able to get all the training, the development and help that they need. You bring them together, you can actually start to make a difference. And what we've been trying to do is work with PAOs when we bring our firms together into this one harbour. And the three areas I want to highlight where we are working with PAOs across our member firms are about how we're trying to make the profession more attractive for the next generation. And this came up a lot this morning with Asma and Berry's presentation, Mike's presentation. We're also trying to keep people in the firms as well by making sure they're doing meaningful work. And that means it's meaningful to them as an individual, and it has an impact on wider society as well. And we're working with the PAOs on that. And this is really important as well. I think Mike mentioned this. It's really important that we have qualifications that match actually what people need to do in their job. And we're trying to work on more flexible qualifications to help our firms. So let's start with trying to make the profession more attractive. Now, we do have a problem here. All the data shows that less and less young people are going into the accountancy profession. That's pretty much worldwide. And we're hearing about Berry's daughter early on. So I have two daughters, two teenage daughters. One is 18 and one is 16. And they argue all the time. They're constantly arguing. The one thing they both agree on is they think accounting is boring and dull, and it's just about bookkeeping, and they wouldn't even think about going down accountancy as a career. And ironically, I was talking with Marcus, I think, last night about this, but ironically, my elder daughter is just about to start medical school because she thinks being a doctor will be a good career. and she thinks that won't be quite as many hours as being an accountant, which I don't think that is going to be the case. The reason she wants to be a doctor is because she watched a TV show on Netflix called Grey's Anatomy. That's literally a whole logic. And she thinks doctors are cool now because of Grey's Anatomy. And that's a problem because in the media, in films and television, even when accountants are presented in a positive way, it's not really that positive. So you have nerdy Ghostbusters. We have I don't know if anyone watched Parks and Recreation. It's also on Netflix, but that's Ben, and he is very nerdy and a sci-fi nerd. And then you have kind of accountants who are slightly criminal tendencies in The Untouchables. We have Ben Affleck there as an accountant as well. So what we've been trying to do is we want to try and reinvent this and actually start showing that accountancy is a great role, an exciting role, and you can start to make a difference. This is one example here. So this is one of a professional at one of our member firms in the Netherlands called Marlies. So welcome Marlies here. Marlies took her MBA exams, so Berry will be pleased with that. She took her MBA exams, but she's gone down a route in marketing. And that's great because it shows you that the qualification can be flexible and it can take you into different places. What she came up with as a young leader in the firms was a great initiative, and that initiative is called Workation. So it's work and vacation brought together. And what this does is professionals across all these S&Ps across Europe, they can actually travel to any country and another firm will give them a desk and they can sit and do their work for their own firm at the other firm. They network, they get to meet new people, and then they get a couple of days holiday at the same time. And it's great, it's a simple idea, but it's been fantastic. And we have like professionals now going all the way around Europe doing this. And the message that's telling people who are coming into these firms is, well, actually, we've got the work-life balance quite good well here. You're getting a bit of time off, you're working hard, that's good. And it's also helping with diversity and understanding other countries and making connections. Building diversity is also a key area we're working with PAOs on as well. So this is in the US. And diversity is really essential now because when you have a shortage, it's not just the right thing to do, but when you have a shortage of professionals joining accountancy firms, you need to reach out to a broader range of people. They're not people who necessarily look like me. You know, we have to embrace difference, and we have to be open for people joining the profession. So we work here with the AICPA. They have a lot of tools around diversity, so we're using that with our firms. The other thing that we're trying to do again with the PAOs is we want to show the next generation that actually you can come and work for an SMP and you can make a real difference and you can make impact. So we're trying to profile people in the SMPs who are making a difference. So this is one. Some of you may know Giorgio, do you? There's probably, Giorgio knows a lot of people. There's a lot of friends of Giorgio around the world. And Giorgio is the president of the Mediterranean accounting group. He's also a managing partner at one of our firms within Prime Global. And he is not Generation Z. He's not from the young generation. You can see that. He has a young mind, but he's making a difference. So we want to profile that and promote it so people can see that you can make a difference within the profession. And this is really where partnership is really, really important. This is a group, again, it's in the US. It's called Accounting Plus. And they are working with the PAO, AICPA. They're also working with us, and they're working with accounting firms, and they're trying to recreate the image of accountancy. And this is going into schools and colleges. And what they're doing is using the case studies, a bit like Asma was talking about on the IFAC case studies, and showing, well, actually, become an accountant, and it can take you everywhere. And it's modern, it's really nice branding. If you have a look on the website, you'll be quite impressed about some of the things they're doing. But this is the type of thing we need to see happening in countries around the world. So that's attracting people. Then you have to keep them. And this is where it's really important to have meaningful work. And we were touching on this this morning with some of the speakers, particularly around climate change. Climate change is a terrible thing, but it is an opportunity for the profession because we've got to account for the change, we've got to be able to provide assurance on information as well. So it is an area we're particularly encouraging SMPs, again, to work with their PEOs to start moving into this space. I like this quote here. This is someone who's just joined an accounting firm who did think it was all bookkeeping and it was a bit boring. And now they're realizing, well, actually, this wider reporting is going to have a big impact and it's very motivational for them. So with ACCA, we actually have a partnership to try and promote as far as possible the tools to help SMPs move into this space. So we share content, we promote, there's ACA have a qualification, other POs have qualifications as well, and we're trying to promote more professionals to take that so they are ready to take the opportunities as they come. We also issued a workbook which is targeted at SMPs. There's not many of those around. This is targeted at SMPs. It was translated from Dutch, and then we made it international by putting different case studies into the book of small practices beginning to move into this climate space. And that's been very well received. If anyone wants a copy of that, let me know. I can get you. We've got PDF versions. I can get that to you. And we're sharing the guidance which comes out as well from EFAA, for example. Some very good guidance just came out about the opportunity around audit and assurance, which is going to get very, very significant as regulation is getting pushed through supply chains. The other thing our firms are doing to try and keep people, so well-being was mentioned quite a lot today. It was mentioned by Mike, it was mentioned by Berry as well. So the firms are all doing what they can to put initiatives in place to help people cope with well-being. Well, I was going to say well-being challenges, but it's also about positivity around well-being as well is really important. And then the firms are looking at ways to make the workplace more attractive. So that includes making sure there's breakout spaces, there's good acoustics, and also trying to be more modern in their marketing. So you can see one firm here is marketing through TikTok, for example, and they actually got 1.5 million views on TikTok, which is incredible. The question for the PAOs here is, in the qualifications and the assessments people are taking, is it helping them with these skills? Is it helping someone be able to spot a well-being issue? Is it helping them know what to do when there is a well-being issue? Is it helping them think about how do you make an effective team which is hybrid? That's what our firms are telling us they need from their professional qualifications. And that starts to take me to the last of the 3 points I just want to highlight. This is the quote from one of our firms again. This is Donny. MGA is a small, medium-sized firm, but it's very focused on technology change. And what he's saying here is they try and give people good laptops and good technology, but the bit that's really difficult is developing their ability to think more innovatively and to help them be in a place where they can lead people through change, they can lead their clients through change. And a lot of the time I do hear from our members that they get frustrated because they're putting people through qualifications and what they're being taught, they're not actually having to apply in the workplace. So we're trying to work with PEOs to say, okay, let's try and make these qualifications as relevant as possible in the workplace. And that means actually more flexible qualifications which teach people about ethics, teach people to be objective, but then give them the right technical knowledge as well. So with ACCA, we are promoting specialized certificates around sustainability, around cybersecurity, around AI as well, to try and get the right skills in place. And I think this is something all the PEOs need to start looking at, is how can you do this and make the qualifications more relevant. What we do as well is we've created a platform where S&Ps can share information through chats. It's a digital platform. And that's important as well because an SME by themselves doesn't have access to all the advice that they could have. So this gives forums around internal audit. You can talk about taxation matters. And we're trying to provide CPD, continuing education, which is relevant and more attractive to the next generation. So we have a partnership with a group called LumaQ, and they issue many different types of podcasts. And the podcasts are on professional skills as well as technical skills. And this is really popular with the next generation. They can sit there, listen to a 20-minute podcast, and that gives them some of their learning and development. Partnership is critical with the PEOs. So this is an example from AICPA. In the US, there's a real problem because people are turning their back on the profession because they think it takes too long to study, it costs too much, and actually that the rewards are not high enough. And we've been feeding that back to the AICPA. We say, look, we've got a problem. We can't get people to do accountancy. Our firms can't get the people they need to do the work. And what AICPA have done is they've created a holistic view of how can they change that. So they've tried to make the training more available online. They're trying to recognize work-based learning more. And then for the firms, they're having to recognize they're having to pay more. But we're doing that in combination with the AICPA to try and get impact. So just to hopefully that gives you a sense of some of the things we're doing. And this was just a meeting I had in Singapore just a few weeks ago where we were talking with ACCA about a lot of these challenges. And I think that'll be my key message, that we have to be working together to change the image of the profession. And we want it to be a go-to profession, not a no-go profession. And I do believe we can make it the profession for the future as well. So thank you very much for listening to me today.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I'm sure your daughters love Dad. Okay, no, that was very interesting, some great insights there. And great to see Prime Global working with professional accountancy organisations, in particular ACCA and the AICPA in the United States, to figure out a collective solution to these pressing problems. Carlos, over to you, please, if you could...
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Salvador Marin for this invitation from EFAA to address you all today with this fantastic weather that Lisbon always offers. Furthermore, I would like to thank Stephen for joining us here in Portugal and to Paul Thompson for being the moderator of this session. Finally, I would like to thank Paula Franco for the honor she has given me to represent OCC at EFAA, as well to the other colleagues in the board of OCC for their commitment both to the realization of this event and for their work for the enhance the profession. I have been following all the efforts of our president and her team. Portuguese society must be grateful to you. I also hope the Portuguese government is aware of the importance of your work. It has been vital for Portugal to improve the Portuguese state accounts, fight tax fraud, and improve tax justice. My presentation will be in English, a part, and after in Portuguese. The main in Portuguese. But I would like to say some words in English because some thoughts, I think I cannot explain them very well in Portuguese. Don't ask me why. Probably because all these issues I study them in English. Before talking precisely about talent, I would like to raise a topic widely discussed in the last few days in Portugal, which concerns the importance of certified accountant job. In 2019, we had the privilege to have here in this auditorium among us Jacob Sol. He participated in a conference that the history committee organized, and he had an opportunity to present to Portuguese accountants his book that I qualify an excellent, outstanding book, and everyone should read it. And we had an opportunity to discuss with Jacob Sol his ideas, his message. And among the various messages from his presentation and his book, I remember that whenever politicians disregard accounting, the destiny of the state is bankruptcy. There are plenty of examples in history. That is what happened when Colbert in France died, and Mr. Louis XIV, the king, a few years immediately shut down all offices that were collecting information, accounting information. And when Louis XIV died, France was bankrupt. The same happened to the family, Medici family. Cosimo de' Medici, whose fate was decided when they stopped paying attention to the figures, accounting, and started seeking honors in the European courts, noble titles, or later on in Spain, 16 and 17, or in Portugal, the end of the 19th century. That opened the way to a dictatorship that just finished began in 1928, 29, and finished in 1974. So, based on a discourse of financial dictatorship, they stayed in power for 48 years. Another example of word quoting is the financial crisis in 2001, Enron, or Arthur Andersen, or Lehman Brothers in 2008, or even the pigs in 2009. All these examples resulted from the contempt of states and respective societies for accounting and the role of certified accountants. This topic immediately brings us to the accounting workforce shortage. For this topic is too serious to be ignored, and the absence of professionals capable of preparing financial statements and reporting puts into question the accountability and integrity of the business. So, now I would like to invite you to put your headsets on, because from now on I'll be speaking in Portuguese, please. A situação que nós atualmente...
The situation we're currently experiencing in Portugal and throughout the world, really, this lack of talent. This doesn't just come from the process with the COVID-19 pandemic and all the technological advances. I believe that our profession is not facing a change or transformation, rather a transfiguration. It's something that is slightly different. In other words, our profession is changing. It is becoming different. A different way of being. as well as a different way of being seen or perceived by others. The labor force, from my perspective, has never seen so many generations that are so different as the ones we have now. And this applies to accounting too. Any intervention will never be one measure for all. No, there is no one size fits all anymore. You can't apply that. Why? Because for each of the situations we have to act in compliance with whom we have ahead of us. Baby boomers prefer being in their workspace and not work from home, not being. However, if you ask a young person who is currently entering the labor market, Generation Z, they prefer to work from home. It is impossible to have one single way of being in our job. We're also going through a time where these different generations have different knowledge. The generation that is currently in the labor force is the smart city generation, one could say. Why? They are systematically connected online. And for someone who, like me, I'm Generation X, to get an email from my fridge, or my pet sending me an email, my cat, my dog, or getting an email from my food in the fridge saying that the expiry date is coming up. For the new generations, this is par for the course. But this is where we're going. A year back, I installed air conditioning in my home, and the gentleman asked me, or told me, you have all of these specificities and you can start your air conditioning when you're at work, so that when you're home, your home will be chilled. And I know, I've never done that, and I know that someone from Generation Z would do that. They would turn their air conditioning on remotely. So one size fits all is no longer available. What are the reasons why people are leaving their workplaces? Well, these are some of the reasons. I'm sure there are many more. But from my perspective, COVID-19 gave people an opportunity to think and rethink about their situation, to set priorities. The older generations chose to retire earlier. Why? Because now they don't want to have to learn everything from scratch. And this whole idea of learning technology, that's quite a burden for these people. People started to give more importance to their family. Their family became more important. Issues such as burnout. Having a work-life balance. This became top of priorities. I would say top of the Maslow pyramid. People started to rank these aspects higher than others. This is a very interesting study up on screen. It was published last year in a review where people who are considered boring were identified. And I read this study, and I thought it was really interesting to share it with you, because accounting is right at the top, i.e., accountants are boring people. I don't think so. I don't consider myself boring. I think I'm quite fun and entertaining. But we need to think about why this is happening. I have my own perspective. I believe that on the one hand, we're not selling our image well, and on the other, those who are charged with upskilling or qualifying young people, and I'll talk about that, namely universities and schools, are not highlighting the important role that an accountant would play. I am a professor, and I am guilty of this. A few years back, my university, a crime forensics and criminal justice course was set up. And all of a sudden, because of CSI, the course became one of the most sought out. And the average grades for the students to get into the course were quite high. We are not the CSI of accounting, but I believe that we are the good guys. We are on the right side of the story, and we can show society that we can offer a good service. I don't intend for accountants to be Ben Affleck. But I don't want accountants or accounting being addressed as when we had Ebenezer Scrooge. I am concerned when I see, and I don't know if you know that, there's a Britcom series called Black Books. And the first episode of Black Books is about accounting. Mr. Bernard wants to file his tax return. He knows nothing about it, and then the accountant is a corrupt man to boot. The police are chasing him. So if you look for Black Books, the first episode, please, you'll have fun, because it is quite interesting. Anyway, moving on. What is this generation searching for, the new generation? Well, this new generation wants to move up the ladder, just like any other generation, but they want to do it at breakneck speed. They have a lot of knowledge, more skills, more so than any other generation, but they want to have a career perspective in their workplace, but not like their parents, a job for life. They want to have the chance to have new training, new skills. They want a company to offer them this training, not just hard skills, but also soft skills. They want a job with meaning. And for this, it is important for them to be fully in line with the vision, the mission, and the goals of the company they are working for. And it's not strange for me to hear that 60% of Generation Z will drop their jobs, they will quit their jobs if they realize that their leaders are not committed to sustainability. They want to have life outside the office, and this implies working less hours. And above all, they want to work from home. Working from home is important for them, but we cannot neglect something fundamental, which is work relations and the organizations and the corporations' culture. This is very important. So we need to look at this and see how we can overcome these issues. Here, I am sure that my German colleagues will know this university. It is a very well-known university at the top of German universities. You will certainly know that any of the German people here will understand the subjects I am now putting up on the screen, and that most universities don't teach this for accounting. Why? Well, the marketplace needs to grab people from other sectors to fill in these roles. And this is concerning. Why? Because universities still have a very medieval hierarchical structure where to make any change, it will take you years. And this will not respond to the marketplace needs. Any of these issues will have to be on the school curriculum. Schools, universities that are in charge of the school curriculum, and the professional organizations who have the know-how, they know what companies need. They know what the marketplace needs. So we need to find a way of getting these two bodies together. And we can't have things go on like what happens in Portugal, where you have an organization that supervises the accreditation of the courses, higher education courses, and to make a change, it will take you 3 years. 3 years in our times, in any area, whether it's accounting or anything else, is eternity. It's completely ridiculous. This type of restrictions we have is ridiculous. Many times when I'm asked about talent, I say that given the lack of young people and graduates in accounting, though we need to look in-house. We need to look, because we might have the resources available in-house, but we need to know how to appreciate them, upskill them, and care for them. So we don't have situations where we start to negotiate people's presence in the organizations when the day they decide we can't just negotiate with them when they take the step to leave because they found somewhere better. We need to do this before. So what has the OCC been doing to retain, attract, and upskill its members? To retain talent, to upskill it, to attract talent. Well, it's done a fair bit. And I think that chartered accountants in Portugal have identified all of these aspects, but perhaps they just don't recall them or the relationship they has with talent. In Portugal, we have 68,278. This was the number at the end of 2022. These are the members of the OCC. 68,278. The majority is female. And we've witnessed, as with everywhere else, the age bracket below 30 and between 30 and 40, we don't have a lot of people. So we have an aging, and we need to overcome this situation in Portugal too. I would say that the typical chartered accountant in Portugal is a female aged 40 to 50 years old. What has the chartered accountant program done? Well, aware of the issues that we have with chartered accountants and the given new technologies and the accountants need to abide by the standards, standard audit file for tax, which allows a set of predefined accounting records and invoices to be removed very easily. Paula Frank at the time decided with her team to bring teams of professionals together, professionals who are readily available to offer assistance in the workplace to anyone who needed help, and an analysis of their systems. And we managed to improve the work carried out by chartered accountants, and meeting this requirement by the Portuguese government. This also allowed us at the same time to address the issues in-house in the practices and update the information systems and technologies available. But there is an important aspect here. This measure used a lot of funds by the OCC, quite a heavy financial effort and people as well, the islands, Portugal, mainland Portugal and the islands. And in 2020, with COVID, we quickly overcame the difficulties. And although this was a difficult time for everyone, it was easier after this training and assistance given by the PAO before COVID. We also have the CC Clicks, an online training platform. The members of the OCC PAO pay 15 euros a month, and they have access to all the training. You can go online. You can see the training we have, and they don't pay more for the training courses available. And this was fantastic for any member to be able to be updated on the subjects that they want whenever they want to. Tax breaks for accountants. Well, this was another victory, and it helped us to retain talent because it contributes towards avoiding burnout and other associated issues that lead people to quit their profession. What is this? What is breaks for accountants? Well, they allow the accountant to be on holidays without having to interrupt those holidays that they would have to for their customers' fiscal duties, tax duties. Plus, the fair impediment is the possibility of when, in the event of a disaster or fatality, the deadline could be can be moved forward to the day immediately following after this impediment. This is given, it is in the law. When there is, say, a relative dies or someone is hospitalized or is ill, sudden disease, onset of a sudden disease, they can then delay the schedule. Another thing we spoke about today, and we've been shook by the scandal in Australia with PwC. And the organization has invested heavily in this. We offer all young people who apply to become a chartered accountant. And this is one of the cornerstones that we must invest in, ethics in our job. We can have the best standards in place. We can have the best accountants with the best soft skills, with the best hard skills. But if they're not ethical, then that will be a problem, and service will be terrible for society, for companies. This is another thing that we've been doing to the OCC, which is investing in tax education or tax financial literacy. We published 3 books, one for primary schools, one for secondary education, before higher education, and then one for higher education level. It has been translated into Spanish and has I think it's Madeira Island that also has this, and it is very useful. But from my perspective, I will explain at the end how we can go a bit further than this, but this investment is important for society. The issue that anyone who runs a home knows how to do accounting, that is quite elementary. The Ministry of Education needs to invest in tax literacy, and I will explain how. Accountants are not evil people. Anyone who watched The Accountant with Ben Affleck, at the end, he gives the painting away to the young people, the young girl he was trying to protect. And we are quite altruistic here too. So recently, our organization had a partnership with a non-for-profit organization for abandoned children, and I will invite you to watch a small video that shows our investment in attracting future talent. So please watch this video. It's got subtitles.
I believe this is a good example on how an organization cannot think only for tomorrow, but we need to think in 10, 20 years. And this is a good investment in my perspective. Finally, recommendations that I believe are important. I think we need to have an agreement with universities because we need to reform the courses curricula, because this is extremely important to bet on that set of subjects that universities need to teach to make accounting more attractive and to have a greater connection to reality and society and the reality of companies. Then to bet on diversity, and this has been debated, so I'm not talking about this anymore. To have an agreement. We cannot have, with the Ministry of Education, we cannot only have spontaneous moments from the certified accountants order when they are invited, but we need to have vetting from the ministry to contact the organization of certified accountants to work together with schools, and it needs to be agreed. And I'm sure Paula Franco will know how to do this. I know that in England they have implemented financial literacy, and there is a concern from the government to teach financial literacy in the schools. In Portugal, that is not a reality. We don't see that concern. At least I don't know about it. Betting on ethics, and according to my perspective, this is extremely important. And the Portuguese and those who are listening to us, I apologize, but these issues, such as we've seen in the past days in an Anglo-Saxonic country, you wouldn't even question or to put at stake the profession of a certified accountant, because what is at stake here is what has been happening in the past days in Portugal. It's allowing tax evasion, and the crime pays, and that cannot happen. I'm sure our leader will do her best to overcome these difficulties. To bet on subsidies for studying, and those that are less protected, I think they can offer some grants, and they will make partnerships with companies so that that will have talents for accounting there, and to reduce the number of hours and to promote training with certified accountants, and to increase what one calls a life balance, which is extremely important to achieve this balance of our professional life and our personal life. So thank you for your attention, but I'm sure nevertheless that we should never worry with the future tomorrow. In the present, we should not worry with tomorrow, but with today, so that it will be perfect, and to be aware that tomorrow and for tomorrow's problems we'll know and we'll be able to find the true weapons that will help us to overcome all the adversities we meet. Thank you.
You're not boring, Stephen's not boring, I'm not boring, I'm sure none of you guys are, but clearly we do have a bit of an image problem to address, and I suspect that it could take us many years, and it does seem to be the case that Hollywood hasn't exactly been on our side over the years, and I think Monty Python as well in the UK has also not been. I do remember the sketch with the accountant wanting to become a lion tamer. That kind of sits in my memory. It didn't deter me from becoming an accountant. I went into accounting, I think, because I saw myself in a certain way, and I thought that I would be suited to the work, and I thought it was going to be interesting, and it's certainly proven to be the case. I do on occasion, I only have I have no sons and daughters, it's just my wife and I, so every so often I do check with her and say, our accountant's boring, and I generally get quite a positive response, not always the most convincing, but I'll take it. What we heard from the presentations was, this image problem seems to be quite pervasive. I mean, there's academic research that Carlos has unearthed, which seems to pitch us right near the top of the table in terms of how boring we can be. And that's going to prove, obviously, immensely difficult to attract new people to the profession. So I have, I'm not going to ask, these guys have done a lot of talking, they've shared an awful lot of ideas, they've answered most of the questions that I would have asked. But I want to ask you guys, do you guys have any views on how we collectively address this image problem? And if you have a suggestion, if you could just raise your hand and we'll get the microphone to you and you could perhaps briefly explain what that might be. So does anybody out there in the audience, have you got this silver bullet on how we can be seen differently, as interesting as astronauts are? And if you have an idea on how we do that, maybe just put it in your hand and we'll come over. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody at the minute. That means that it's going to be clearly quite a challenge, yeah? Because either nobody has an answer, or else we figure the answer would be so long that we would have all found the answer boring. I think there's a lady in the middle here. Is that Nelson or Sonia? Would you? No, okay. Stephen, however, has come to the rescue.
No, thanks, Paul. What I think needs to happen is that we have to all go through a bit of a mindset shift. I just want to go back to the Monty Python example, actually, and I'll just tell you another story around this. So I was talking to a young professional, who had just joined an accounting firm. And unlike Monty Python, he had run away from the circus to become an accountant. So what he was actually a performer in Cirque du Soleil, and had decided he needed a more stable career and something that would be, he wasn't quite sure he could keep being a circus performer forever. So he thought maybe he'd give accountancy a go. And what happened is he joined the firm, and in the past, when I became an accountant, we were all basically told to do the same thing. I even had, when I came into the office for the first time, the colour of my socks were checked to make sure that they were on brand and they were the right colour. So we were all being told to be the same, basically. So he joined the firm, and rather than trying to make him the same, what they actually did, they said, we're going to put you and match you to all our entertainment clients. So he goes out to all the entertainment clients. They absolutely love him. They give him extra time off over the Christmas period. So he can, in the UK, we have pantomimes. So there's this kind of season of theatre. He's allowed to actually not be at work to go off and perform in the theatre. So they've totally flexed around him rather than trying to make him change. And I think that's what we all have to learn. And Asma touched on it this morning, actually, when Asma was saying that we need to understand the next generation clearly are different, but we need to listen and understand to their needs and then work back into, okay, how can we fit with their aspiration and goals? And that includes the PAOs, who then have to think about more flexible qualifications. For that person, he won't be able to take the exams at exactly the time the PAO wants to take those exams. They're going to have to be more flexible. They need different type of skills and learning to develop as well. So we have to do a lot more listening and adapt. And then I believe we can make the profession very attractive, and we'll have role models coming up like this person who can start to break the myth of accounting being boring, because he's actually living a very full life, fulfilling his dreams, but doing it as an accountant.
Interesting. Carlos, do you have any other views you wish to share? I don't need to hold you to it, but I think we have some. Sandrine, would you like to, whether you have a question or whether you have a suggestion on how we become perceived as less boring?
Hello? Okay. I'm Sandrine van Bellingen. I'm working for the Belgian Institute of Registered Auditors. And I couldn't agree more with what you said, Stephen. Also about your daughter, because I've got a daughter who's is almost turning 18, and she doesn't know what to do next year. And she talks to me about medicine, about architecture, about real estate because of the Netflix series. But then at the end of the day, she was thinking about commercial engineer, which could be leading to your profession because I'm a lawyer. But she doesn't know what it leads to. And I think, and that's what I said to my institute too, in order for the profession to be attractive, you should actually start at the school banks, at schools before university, because 17 years old, teenagers, they don't know, and effectively they are watching series which are very popular, and everybody knows what a doctor is, everybody knows what a lawyer is, but nobody knows what an accountant is. Sorry, at that age.
Yeah, many thanks. Stephen, I know, wants to add.
I just wanted to pick up on that as well, because I think this is where we have to all be working together and actually being able to describe what is an accountant. So if you, at the moment, you look up on different websites how accountancy is defined. I haven't looked recently in IFAC. I'm not sure how IFAC define a professional accountant now. If you look on most PAOs, have a look at how they describe who their members are and what accountants are. And I would say the vast majority of the time, there'll be quite a long explanation, and it will involve people doing control checking, processing information, preparing data, and maybe giving some audit and assurance. It's not very exciting. And somehow we've got to come out. I think if there's one thing we could do together, which I don't think we'd be competing in this, just let's come up with some way of capturing the fact that a professional accountant is helping people achieve their dreams. It's actually having this huge impact in society and business, and being this advisor, and it's a very exciting and dynamic role. We need a way of actually describing that, and we're consistent, and we all present that in the same way, be it in a university, a PEO, or in an S&P itself.
Yeah, and that's a great, well, there you go. We've all got some homework, and I think Phil has I'm getting a spate of questions. I'll take Asma first, because, well, Phil's already got it. Okay. And then we'll close with Asma.
Am I here now? Yes. I'm alive and well, and I'm Philip Turnbull, and I'm from the Association of International Accountants. One thing that could make it more interesting career is the content of the syllabus. Sustainability is a very important area, and it's a very important area to younger people. A lot more younger people understand sustainability. It's at the top of their list. And if we as a profession can push that out there, that we can aid in providing solutions to sustainability, we're helping them directly. So it could be about subjects and also pushing that out to people in schools so they actually understand. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Asma, did you wish to take the microphone? Hopefully it's still working for you.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Just to build on your thought, and in relation to the image problem, I think we can all reflect on when we were kids, or our own kids, or friends' kids, whatever. When you ask a kid, what do you want to be in the future? They will tell you, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, architect, etc. Do you ever hear, I want to be an accountant? And what that means is that we need to think even more backwards, as you rightly said, how to explain our profession to kids. And the test for us will be, this is a long-term journey, like lots of journeys, is the day when you ask a kid, what do you want to be? And we have more kids saying, I want to be an accountant. We will have succeeded. So what should we do to get there? So this is maybe a societal study that we need to go through in our countries, at the global level, whatever, to really see how we can kick off that at childhood. It's not just at the university.
Thank you very much. Well said. So we really have to catch these kids young, yeah? Just as the video which Carlos showed. We have one other person, Sharam, I think. Yes, if you can.
Is this on? Hi everyone, I'm Sharam Muallimi, President of the AIA. I'm a practicing chartered accountant, and I think the answer to your question, Paul, is accountants are viewed as boring merely because of the title. As Steve said, 5 years ago, we changed the name of our accountancy, ASM Advisory Services, Chartered Accountants and Taxation. I think if you say you're a chartered accountant or accountant, it's just a very, very dull image going to Dickensian time. Whereas now, if you portray yourself as an advisor, it gives a different image. And we found that to be very useful.
Thank you very much, Sharam. Well, we have run out of time on this session, so let me just do a brief sort of roundup. I guess what I'm hearing from you all is, yes, there is an image problem. We really need to do a better job of describing what we do. Something that sounds more attractive and appealing to young, talented people. We really need to get to young people as young as we can get to them, to try to get them to understand, get a little bit of an idea as to what the work of an accountant involves. And maybe we need to rethink whether we all call ourselves accountants or auditors. Maybe sometimes it's going to be better that we call ourselves a business advisor or something of that kind. Okay, well, thanks, chaps, for being with me, Stephen and Carlos. I think I've got a little gift for you, hidden away, from Belgium, Brussels. Yeah, so it's going to be, even for you guys, you get chocolate, not just for the ladies. So, thank you so much, Stephen.
Thank you very much.
And Congratulations. Right. Okay, awesome. We're going to be rolling straight into the next session. Okay, so our third and final session for today, session 3, I'm going to be inviting up to the front our panelists. We have in this panel, we have Monica Forster, who is the chairperson of the IFAC SMP advisory panel, group, beg your pardon. So Monica, please take a seat. I've got a feeling, yep, there we go, we've got our 4th seat. I was just thinking we're going to be running out of seats. I'd like to also ask to the front Alexander Stefanek. Alexander is owner and general manager at Factor Slovenia. Alexander is going to be moderating this session, chairing this session. So just a few words about Alexander. He's a owner-manager of Factor. He's been with EFA for a number of years. He's a board member of EFA, and he's also been the president of the Chamber of Accounting Services in Slovenia for 16 years. So welcome, Alexander. Let me get, though, the rest of the folks up on stage. Marcus Tushan. Marcus, are you with us? Please step up. And last but not least, George Josephakis. George, you're welcome to... Yeah, you do whichever. I know Sarah would generally prefer that side, but, you know, I've got nothing against how you make it up to the top here. Welcome. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Alexander to take us away. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Paul. I will take some time to introduce some and to give some more information about our panelists. So Monica is a partner, I hope I will pronounce correctly, at Confidor and became chair of advisory group of IFAC in 2017 after serving as a deputy chair. Being a member since 2014, she was nominated by Conselho Federal de Contabilidade and Instituto dos Auditores Independentes do Brasil. Yeah. She is a partner at Confidor, at an accounting, tax and law firm with offices in Porto Alegre and Sao Paulo, Brazil. Monica is currently a member of the board of directors of Ibracom, Brazil, and the board member at the Accounting Council, and where she's also coordinator of the Committee of Audit Studies, right? Yeah. Monica holds an MBA in Financial Management, Controlship, and Audit from Fundação Getúlio Vargas, Brazil, and a degree in Accounting from Universidade Federal de Rio Grande do Sul. Yeah, okay. George is a founder and managing director of G. Josephakis Audit Limited. He has over 25 years experience in the accounting and auditing profession in Cyprus, UK, Greece, Romania, and Russia. Yeah. He's a member of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Cyprus, a fellow of the Association of International Accountants in England, and member of the Institute of Financial Auditors of Romania.
Member of the International Compliance Association.
Okay. He's also member of a council governing the Association of International Accountants. Yeah. And you are senior lecturer in Greece on international financial reporting standards. Yeah. Marcus is a tax advisor and certified auditor. Since 1991, he has been a partner in small practice of around 30 employees in North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany. After finishing his business study at the university at Paderborn, he worked as a tax consultant and audit assistant. While the focus on his work is audit, accounting, and tax advice for SMEs, he also works as a certified quality control auditor. Marcus has been a member of the board of Association of Tax Advisors of Westphalia-Lippe since 1999, and its president since 2011. Marcus has also been an EFA board member since 2016. Thank you all for coming. Previous two panels were, like we say, a cat around the boiling porridge. Each of them were just taking a sip with a spoon, and I hope this third panel will give the solution to our problem and that we will eat all the porridge here. But to start this panel, I would like to count 3 myths that we will try to dispel. So, the first one is that we deal with the same problem as almost all activities. This is the lack of staff, not only high quality, but also the staff that could be educated according to our needs. The second one is the profession is not attractive and is exacerbated by information on increased workload. And the third one is digitalization is, in the view of some, a double-edged sword. On the one hand, we are happy to implement it because it makes our job easier. And on the other hand, we have a very good and professional staff who finds it sometimes difficult to switch to new technologies. These are the 3 myths we are trying to solve. But now, first, Monica, please, your presentation.
Thanks, Alexander. Indeed, you just put a huge pressure on me and on my colleagues here. We are the last session of the day. And you already mentioned that we are supposed to bring the solutions. So, tricky introduction. Anyway, first of all, I would like to thank very much for EFA and especially Salvador for inviting me. It's an honor to be here. And I'm proud to say for the second year, so that's great to be here. And also thank OCC for the opportunity for us to be here. I also, even because I'm Brazilian, I speak Portuguese, although today I'll be presenting in English. I'm a Portuguese native speaker, so last year I had opportunity also to present at the OCC conference. But with the introduction said, I'll start trying to cover the topic we are supposed to bring solutions here. So in this sense, I'm here to talk today about creating an environment where talent thrives in SMPs. There's no magic solution, no magic answer to that, but let's try to bring a positive reference on that. And in this sense, I want to address one point that was brought in the questions or Q&As of the last session, which relates to working for the profession since very young ages. That's true. We don't see at schools, usually the children and teenagers want to have the visits. They want to have the doctors, engineers, etc. They are not used to ask for accountants to be there to speak. And one additional remark I want to make is the following. We are partially responsible for that because usually we are too shy to go out and speak for the profession and advocate for the profession. So this is a homework also for us. It's not only for the market or whatsoever, and we need to keep that in mind to make sure we are heard because we want to be heard. With that said, let me move to the agenda. Very briefly, I'm going to take you through my thoughts on talent management in the SMP environment. In the discussion that follows this session, we will be focusing on attraction, retention, and upskilling. And I want to give some of my views on this. However, before we get to thinking about these three areas and the practical things we can do about it, we must first acknowledge we have to create the right environment within SMPs to enable these measures to be undertaken. And when I may mention that to create the right environment, this might appear as being tricky, mainly for SMPs and for SMEs perspective. Usually we don't have time available, we have resources constraints, and we are usually running against time to make sure we can do everything we can. However, and this was very well addressed in the prior session, when we get integrated with other firms, with the member organizations, yes, it's possible to achieve these results and to achieve this communication and focus on improvements, although it might appear as being quite difficult to be achieved. In this sense, I brought this special reference, which is something that is known by all of us here. Staff are the most valuable asset of any firm. Investment in talent management should be a top priority. This is something that should be obvious. Sometimes it's not easy. And what we need to keep in mind, and I'll speak a bit more about it later, is that when we think on talent, attraction, with maintenance and upskilling, we are not speaking only about, we're not talking only about the new generation. We already heard mainly in the morning about the differences amongst the different generations. And we need to keep in mind that each generation has an expertise, has a special capacity, a special ability to deal in different ways. And the way we can achieve better results at our SMPs and in the recognition by the market depends on achieving the best holistic approach among all these parts, all these members, all these participants from different generations. This is something we need to keep in mind. Everybody has its value, and this is about leadership. It's not only about staff. This is about being an appropriate leader to really obtain the best from everyone that is involved there. So moving further, let's look at some of the essential things we can be doing as an SMP. Now I'm speaking from an SMP perspective, to create an ideal environment for talent to thrive. First, develop a people strategy. It is important for SMPs to have a people strategy. Talent cannot thrive unless we do the thinking to set a foundation to improve how staff carry out their roles. We need to think about things like effective people and performance management, training and development, and of course, reward and recognition, among other things. Why do I bring this point? Because frequently we, at SMPs, focus on a kind of an informal approach or on a non-structured way of doing that. And it's key to really take time to structure and plan what needs to be developed, what needs to be done to make sure we are creating a consistent focus on people. This needs strategy. Otherwise, we might be doing a lot of things and we won't achieve positive results because this was not well considered, well analyzed, and well prepared. Secondly, it's important to get many aspects of culture right in the organization. One of the most important in these fast-changing times for SMPs and the profession in general is to create a culture of innovation. To get this, we need to change the mindset that decisions are best taken top-down. And this is quite common, mainly in some regions of the world, but it's quite common to create. And we heard in the morning that the basic age of the professionals usually is high. We have regions where it's not the case, but usually it happens. So culturally, we have this behavior, let's say, that top-down, we are the partners, we are the leaders, we are the ones who define what needs to be said. A mindset change is needed here. We cannot continue with that if we want to achieve attraction and retention of talents. So we need to convince staff they will be listened to and they should feel free to raise new ways of doing things. And important, we need to really listen to them. We really need to pay attention to what they bring. It's not about bringing and we don't doing anything about it. We need to really pay attention to that and identify how to address what is being brought from that. We cannot retain a focus on what we have already done and close ourselves to new opportunities either. A successful SMP is always scanning the horizon, looking for new opportunities. Finally, the right solution for clients is not always the one that is the easiest for us to provide or what we have done elsewhere. So it's not that ready solution. We need to get adjusted. And this needs to have all team involved on the decisions. So we really need to improve interaction with our teams and our talents for that purpose. The third important area is embracing technology. This is something obvious. We don't even need to mention into details. We may have a situation where those in leadership roles in SMPs are not so adept with new developments. This changed a bit due to the pandemic, so even those that didn't want to get adjusted were forced to get adjusted. But we know that sometimes leadership are not, I wouldn't say not interested, but they are not so prepared for that. They were not created with technology skills. So we need to consider that technology is key and needs to be implemented and kept to allow us to achieve success. Using the skills of those most proficient and interest, so creating what we call as the technology champions, to scan the environment and understand new developments and what might work. This can be a great way to really shatter this barrier and be able to achieve better results. Last but not least, the fourth area is what we can do as leaders of SMPs. So we need to set a great example for people in a way that they really want to join us and stay working with us. We heard a lot about it in the surveys during the presentations in the morning, and we know that usually SMPs are not choice number one, mainly for new professionals. So we need to be prepared, and by be prepared, I mean really believing on what we say, on the valuable insights and opportunities that we as SMPs have in this sense. During the discussion, we'll be discussing further about it. So let's really consider what might be needed to really generate this inspiration in the new generations. As I mentioned in the agenda, I'll be focusing on three key aspects: attraction, retention, and upskilling. In relation to attraction, some of this was already discussed during the event, and we frequently discuss about it. But then from a practical point of view, from a practical approach, what we can do, we need to construct and have this right environment. So preparing the strategy and really listening to the parts that are involved. But we also need to be better at selling why SMPs can be a better option than larger firms or industry or market, or for example, in my experience in my country, Brazil, against public sector, because public sector in Brazil, they pay very high salaries, and usually public employees work quite less hours than we in private sector. So it's a kind of an unfair competition. But we need to demonstrate the value we can achieve as SMPs and how much value. We heard before how much people are based on purpose now, mainly the new generation. So what can we do to demonstrate we add value and we make a difference on that? So here there are some topics. I won't be reading all of them, but just as a reference. We need to make sure we are taking the easy opportunities to give a modern edge to SMPs. It's essential in these times to use social media to both promote our firms and the culture, and also use this as a tool for recruitment. When we consider in the past, usually there were some agencies, some contacts that helped us to hire people. In practice, this doesn't work anymore. And social media usually is one of the best alternatives. First, because you have a direct channel, and second, because now focusing on new generation, they are interested in those that keep technology running. So they are really focusing on that. And social media might also be used for us to demonstrate what differentiates us. So it's not only about selling products, but also about demonstrating the difference we make on strategic, on management of the companies. So that really is an opportunity, and a unique opportunity that we can achieve anywhere, anyone, anywhere. We need to champion SMPs as an important part of local economies, highlighting the work they do and how the relationships with clients can be more focused or stronger than in other places. The environment to attract talent is taught, so we need to make sure SMPs are taking steps to use the position they have in their local communities to run events, as was mentioned before, at schools, at universities, also integrating with the market in general, so with industries, with commerce, with other areas, to really be recognized and understood by the others. Another benefit SMPs could sell is around collaboration working. This is easier to be done at an SMP or in a smaller organization where the team all know each other and have a better or easier direct contact among the members. When we talk to the new generation frequently, and this was briefly mentioned in the morning, frequently they mention that, hey, I don't see the result of my output. That's so frustrating because I start as a trainee. So I'll be doing those manual works and I don't know what's going on from there. So in an SMP, it's easier to really keep all talents, all team working together and understanding what is the result of that. And we can't forget that PAOs, member organizations, are here to help too. I won't enter into details here. We just heard some great examples in the previous session, but we don't need to be, as SMPs, alone by ourselves. We need to count on member organizations, on international relationships, to make sure we can achieve better results, better skills, better outputs, working together and interacting with other people. Moving then to retention. Retention is basically related to delivering on our promises. So once we already have the talent at our SMPs, we need to work to keep them there. And this might be challenging. It was said before, the new generation is not focusing only on salary. They need to have purpose, they need to have other aspects involved. And although it seems strange for us that are from the previous generations, this is a reality, not only in accounting, but also in accounting. So the first message is always deliver the things you promise when you recruit. So don't lie. Don't promise things that you know that you won't be able to deliver or to involve that part. The new generation won't stay if they identify that something that was promised is not happening. So here there are some points that I won't enter into each detail of it. This material will be made available to you later. But basically it's about making sure people are heard. We need to encourage collaboration. We need to invest in technology because we need to have our teams comfortable and really willing to work with us, knowing that they have the best possible tools and resources to work with us. And set up mentoring and coaching programs. And here's an important remark. It's not the same way it used to be. In the past, what was usual to be done? An annual feedback formally in which we brought the conclusions. I don't know if it happens internationally. In Brazil, we use the reference of a sandwich. So bring positive aspects, then bring the negative ones, and then back to the positive ones. It doesn't work anymore. If we do that, we won't keep the teams. We need to have informal interactions, informal contacts, and really keep people interested on that. Moving further to upskilling. And on upskilling, it's about SMPs as a home for lifelong learning. We need to keep people really believing that being at an SMP, they really will achieve more expertise, more knowledge, more experience. The reference in the market or in the society is frequently that due to these resources constraints, that this won't happen in SMPs. But as we are discussing here, with integration, with optimization of procedures, yes, we can achieve and can supply all these new talents, this lifelong learning. This is extremely important for them. So let's use new diversified service lines. This is an opportunity to promote development. In an SMP, the team, those that are involved, won't be dealing with only one niche, only one area. They'll get different experiences. And with that experience, they will be able to remain at the firm, or perhaps, because we won't keep them by force, so they might choose other alternatives, but they'll learn a lot. And that means a lot to mainly the new generations. Collaboration between teams. This is also easier in an SMP environment. People are all together. They have a direct contact. They know to who they are talking to. So it's not somebody that you saw the name, never saw the face, because the person is in another state or country. So it's about working really together. Training. This was said before also. It's not about only technical training. It's about soft skills. It's about having an holistic point of view. So it's about knowing how to deal with the other areas, working together with other professionals. When we think, for example, from an audit perspective, we know that we need to work frequently with statistics, engineers, and so many different areas. But in fact, in accounting, as a general sense, this happens too. If we are preparing bookkeeping, for example, to make sure we are really doing it correctly and not only fulfilling tax requirements, we need to understand the businesses of our clients. So this is about bringing this training to all team, to make sure they are technically prepared, but also prepared as human beings, as professionals, all together. This might be done, and the main way for that is with interactions, discussions, which will be start soon, exactly because this is the way we can learn more on that. And also, when we think on emerging areas, and this was brought in the previous session, there are some topics mainly related to technology, but not only. We have also aspects related to sustainability. We have new markets that are open. It's a great opportunity for the new generation to be heard, because they have this experience sometimes more than us that are there inside of the office. And we improve the interaction and integration in our teams. So before I conclude, I'll be bringing in some slides. Some of them I already mentioned last year for those of EFA that are here, but not in this level of details. Some material and resources that are made available by IFAC. So IFAC has a comprehensive guide to help SMPs operate more efficiently in the increasingly complex and competitive global marketplace for professional services. So this is known as the PM Guide, Practice Management Guide, and it's organized into 8 standalone modules. Here, for example, related to strategy planning, practice models, firm expansion, managing staff, technology. So different contents that support SMPs and indeed SMEs to keep well and to really improve the businesses. And in this PM Guide, you find Module 4, which is on people power, developing a people strategy. This covers these topics that are stated here. So which are the best ways, procedures, solutions that might be taken to make sure we can improve our capacity as SMPs, as firms, but also to be recognized, and this was already discussed, by the society and by the economy. Another material relates to this Practice Transformation Action Plan publication. So I won't be entering into details, but these are the 4 key topics that are included. This is a short publication. It's about, if I remember right, 18 pages, and it was translated to diverse languages. So you find exactly how to approach, how to address the need to embrace change, and this is related to what I mentioned before on mindset changing, leverage technology, focus on talent management, and evolving the firm to build advisory services. At the SMP Advisory Group at IFAC, we strongly focus on practice transformation. And at IFAC, through the Global Knowledge Gateway that Asma mentioned also when she spoke, we have a practice transformation web page, which has a lot of material. You find there articles, videos, podcasts, a lot of support material related to practice transformation. Major part of this material is in English, yes, that's true, but you do find materials in other languages. So I really invite you to, if you haven't yet, to access, and it's important to frequently access because we are always working on preparing new material and making it available for everyone, for PAOs, for practitioners all around the world. To give you a reference, in our IFAC SMP Advisory Group meetings, we always have specific sessions focusing on practice transformation, exactly with the purpose to generate outputs to be included in this web page. As a reference, we recently included an Innovative Practitioners podcast series. And in this, we already have 6 episodes. These are concrete firms that exist in reality, that are bringing what they have been doing for the purpose of keeping the pace and even becoming better and more recognized. These are really interesting podcasts with a lot of practical tips and suggestions when we think on practice transformation. The Knowledge Gateway, as I mentioned, Asma also mentioned, there's a lot of resources. To give you a reference of the quantity, approximately, this is always being updated, there are over 1,300 original articles and videos and over 4,000 resources. So certainly you'll be able to find material and resources that will support the SMPs, your SMP in your daily basis. And we also have, to conclude, the latest. The latest is a newsletter that IFAC issues every Tuesday. It's about 2 weeks per month. And it captures all the new and recent content on the site, so it summarizes. You might think, I don't have time to enter the gateway and seek for what I need. If you check at the latest, you'll identify what is newest coming and go directly to that resource and to that information. We have currently about 18,000 subscribers, and if you haven't subscribed yet, I really invite you to do so. I'm sure you'll find a lot of material that will be made available. And here is a summary of all the resources we have at IFAC with a strong participation of the SMP Advisory Group. Certainly, I didn't bring all practical solutions as it was supposed to be, but we'll be now during the discussion focusing on the concrete situations in which we might address our best measures, best procedures we might do really to achieve the best results when we think on attracting and retaining talents. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Monica. So, to the questions and panelists. Marcus, the conference theme is attracting, retaining, and upskilling talent. From the perspective of SMP, which of those three is the most important, or are they the same?
No, I think all are important, but the first point to get a staff, that's, for my opinion, the biggest problem now. In former days, we haven't had any problems to get a staff. It was a self-running system, and you can choose some talents and develop in the SMP. And now, the demographic situation means that we are in competition with all other searching employers, like an industry or others. And so I think that's the mostly focusing problem, to find a solution, new talents to give. And the second and the third, it's very important, but if you have the talent and you have the identification of the talent, it's easier to mentoring and fostering the person, because that's our profession, to keep running in learning and having or becoming with more experience and more all other things you need to do the job. And so that's I think the most problem is at the first to get those talents. So and the third is sorry, it was finding and then fostering and then the retaining. There are some measures was mentioned today in the forward sessions. For example, the work-life balance and some points you have to consider that the employees want to have some benefits and some, a good job, working area, and so on. And we are discussing about the hybrid working, and so that's a normal thing you have to do if you want to retain. Such a short answer.
Thank you. So if you go that attracting is the most important. The next question is for both of you, George and Marcus. What type of help is your SMP looking for from, let's say, from the global bodies like IFAC, from the regional bodies, from the associations, from the universities?
The global and regional bodies do provide significant and very useful material for the practicing SMPs. As we are all based in different countries, we have to rely on our local bodies as well. In order to attract new staff, I can only speak for what my firm does. We have linked up with local universities, public and private universities. We make presentations to the graduates of accounting degrees. However, the disadvantage is that we have to compete with the big four firms. That is the biggest disadvantage. Additionally, for training existing staff, the material that is available is very, very good. However, based on my experience as a lecturer in accounting, staff find it more useful to attend workshops, practical workshops, rather than attend a seminar. The regulation is presented to them, and then they go home and they have to identify how to apply it. Mm-hmm. Therefore, what we seek from our bodies, local, global, regional, is the provision of workshops, practical workshops.
Thank you. Marcus, your opinion?
Yes, in our firm, we have a strategic view on both or 3 points, and in the meaning of the attract new staff, we try to get on the social media to have a strategic point to point out our flexibility, our ability to advise and account with clients and so. And we started 10 years or 15 years ago to attend at apprenticeship fairs, and then we try to convince persons who are at school, and we invite them to have a look in our firm and give them the opportunity to work for 2 days or 3 days with a short program that they can see what we do. So the look from outside is it's a boring profession, but it's not true. And if you have the opportunity to get these talents and show them what we do, then we had a lot of success with those persons when they leave the school or the university. They remember and said, okay, can I have a job? And that was one of the points we do. And for fostering and retaining, it's necessary to giving reward and giving the chance to get more experience, and giving the chance to go to several clients to learn what interesting business models existing. And I think that's a very important point. I think it's long enough.
Yeah.
We discuss.
Thank you. This is a good starting point for Monica for the next question. Should SMPs work more on self-promotion for employees, or not just customer acquisition, and whenever you know maybe of any good practice of that?
Certainly. I would say that, in my point of view, one of the most important roles that we have as international bodies, as member organizations, as SMPs, as practitioners, professionals, is to advocate for the value of the profession in the society and in the economy. And we won't be able to achieve that if we don't structure and we don't take a more general perspective. If we think only on technical things, that's why I mentioned about not only technical training, but also on soft skills and interaction with others. If we don't get integrated with everyone, we'll be always speaking for us, to us, and nobody else will be paying any attention to that. The reason why, for example, I brought all this content from EFAA, and we heard also from the other member organizations before, is that we develop a lot of things, and usually this is not known by everyone. It's quite common. For example, I travel all around the world, and it's extremely common to see that nobody even knows about EFAA, about the gateway. Probably a lot of you already passed through the situation when you speak here. We have OCC in Portugal, you have the regional as EFAA. It's frequent, this happens in my country also, that when you talk to the students, to the new professionals, they have no idea on the roles. What can be obtained from these members? And we need to be actively dealing with them and really speaking out for the profession, for the improvements, for all that needs to be done. Of course, it's not magic. We need to have time to run our businesses when we are SMPs, and that's really challenging. I was asked several times, being a partner at an SMP, how do I do? And I always joke that 24/7 works. That's not true, I don't work like that. But anyway, it's a way we need to try to balance. But one of the best ways, and going back a bit to the first question you made to them, when we think on retaining and upskilling the teams at SMPs, SMPs alone won't have resources and won't be able to do that, and we'll have no opportunity to keep our teams except if we work together with the member organizations, with the regional and international forums. Otherwise, there's no way to run against that. So it's about really putting all the energy together to make sure we can adjust. But yes, we need really to put a lot of effort on that.
Thank you. George, we heard that attractiveness of our profession is especially important. And let's face it, we are not very good, we don't have a very good image at young people. How can we resolve that? And if I go further down this negative road, in opening words, Paula said that the new generation is scared by the thought of retaining them. Have we underestimated, or are we still underestimating this new generation Z, that we don't understand them because this is the generation that is that has full of information from different sources that we are not used to use, and how can we cope with this problem?
First of all, let me tell you that I don't feel that I am a boring accountant. Therefore, starting from that point, I feel that I can communicate and convince younger people to enter the profession. But let me tell you something that happened to me last week. In preparation for this event, I discussed it with a friend, a university professor, and last week she called me and said, I want you to come to this event. Graduation of students, accounting students, Generation Z. The ladies were between 18 to 22, the guys, due to their military service, 20 to 24. At the end of the, during the cocktail, rather, of the event, I approached quite a few young people, and I asked them, if I were to invite you to join the accounting profession, what would you ask me as the SMP leader? And I was really surprised. They didn't ask me about salaries. They said, we want to know whether your SMP is implementing green policies. Will I be able to work from home? Are your operations paperless? And then they went a step further. Tell me about your clients. Are your clients conscious of environment? Do they apply green policies? So this is food for thought. What can we do within our firm to improve our activities, thus being able to attract younger people?
So basically we have to learn how to understand them.
Of course.
Okay. Monica, you said previously that SMP cannot do all the work by itself. Does the entanglement with competition, which lowers prices and consequently paying for our services, leads to reluctant to young staff to choose our profession?
Certainly it's not something easy, because as it was discussed in all sessions here, the profession frequently is not so recognized, so this is a difficulty. Second, accountancy profession, in my point of view, unfortunately, is strongly seen as the bookkeeper responsible by fulfilling tax and salary obligations. And first, this is made basically by technology nowadays in a lot of jurisdictions. Second, this is something that you don't need to think about. And the new generation, since they have this purpose focus, in their point of view is, okay, why will I lose time with that? And second, the clients have the same feeling. Why do I have to pay so much for bureaucratic work? Because they don't see any result on that. Frequently at SMP Advisory Group, we speak about the role of trusted advisor and on really making the difference. So fee pressure will continue, and requests for less work will continue. What we need to make sure, and this will allow us to attract more the new generations, is for them to understand the real value of the profession. If you check those that are starting in the profession and choose at the university to go to accountancy, what's the concept? I'm good in math. But accounting is more than ever a social science. Yeah. So this is a total misunderstanding. And what usually we identify is that people start becoming frustrated because they think, hey, I thought I was going to make a lot of mathematics calculations. And when you tell people, hey, I basically make the 4 basic operations. Sometimes not even the 4. So, but then we need to demonstrate to the clients, to the new generations to work with us. Hey, how much we can achieve when we demonstrate to the client, we translate what is stated in the financial statements, because financial statements is something that is obvious for us, but it's terrible for somebody that is not an accountant. It starts when you refer that debited credit is the opposite from the bank reference. I remember when I started accountancy university, I couldn't understand. It took me 1 month to understand why it was the opposite reference. So it's not something easy. And once we are able, first, to translate it, and translate in normal words. Second, to use this information to really analyze for strategic purposes. In this sense, I'm passionate, and this is what we need to demonstrate to the new generation. You do add value, you do make a difference once you demonstrate all the information that is included in that number. That makes the difference.
Thank you very much. You opened two very important ways or points. First is technology, and the second one is that accounting is actually not a mathematics, only mathematics. Well, in 1865, William Stanley Jeffons wrote the book The Coal Question. In this book, there is his paradox that increasing the efficiency of energy production leads to greater, not less consumption. We can translate this to our profession, because as we spend less time because of technology, this translates to that we have more free time and we can take more job. And this is the question for you, Marcus. Is digitalization or technological progress the reason for companies, leadership, attracting more customers and thus increasing work over and over again? And this is the second myth I quoted at the beginning, that our profession is not very good because there is work overload.
Yes, it's true, the work overload, but it's a self-made problem. And we cannot do like we has done 30 years ago. So it's necessary to have the technical points and the digitalization, is a very necessary point. We have had this the last 30 years, but now it increases the pace increases, and that means that the transition process is very complicated. We have, I think, a third of the staff, they are very easy and familiar with it, and 1/3 say, okay, I can make it, and 1/3 say it's a very big problem for me to manage it. And what means it? You need more staff. You have improvement in digitalization, but you need more staff. It's a transition process. So it might be right what he said, but you have to find out which is the reason and what's the consequence. Mm-hmm. And our profession is moving very fast, and so it's necessary to have fulfilling new tasks. For in Germany, the COVID-19 things all around, and so you need to do this, and the other task has to be done too, and so it leads to more work. And the other hand of the more work is that you have more success, and success means when the client says, okay, well done. That's a reward for the client and for the professional. And so I think it is a problem, as you mentioned, but we must be aware of this problem, and then we can solve it. That's my opinion.
This is also... Yes, of course.
That's something I feel very strongly about this. When we introduce new technology, the aim should be to, yes, improve the way that we work, increase the quality that we provide to our clients. This will lead to having free time, thus being able to attract new clients. The introduction of technology should not be to attract new clients. To reach that point, it should improve our internal procedures.
So, right step after the right step. Don't skip. Yeah. I always say that, as it sounds very scary, but I think that the COVID was the best thing that happened to accountancy profession because of the technology that we implemented. And technology, George, do you notice the growing resistance to the implementation of new technologies?
It's human nature. Human nature, people will always resist new ideas, new technologies. However, a general comment, new technology and digitalization is an opportunity for SMPs to revisit and reform their business model and improve their daily way of working. Now, if I have the time, I would like to describe very briefly what we did as an SMP. During COVID, at the beginning of COVID, we introduced new technologies, and how did we do it? The management must be committed. We sat down and we formulated a strategy. We designed an implementation plan. We calculated a budget. We decided how we were going to fund it. We called in the staff, everybody, explained the strategy, the implementation of new technologies. We identified the training requirements, internal and external. Implemented the plan stage by stage. Stage 1, stop, review it. What we found was that the result was the resistance was minimal. And you know something? The 3 issues that we have here, having implemented new technologies, we were able to attract people. Having implemented new technologies, we retained people and we upskilled people.
Very good.
And we repeated that last year when we had to introduce IES-QCM. So twice we did this over the last 3 years.
Very good. Thank you. But if I return back to attracting, and this is a question for all three of you, are new trends such as sustainability reporting and what you said about accounting not being only mathematics, and in our case mostly it's being psychiatrist to the clients, are those potential levers to increase the interest in the profession, given that the new generation is more environmental consciousness, and they are more social connected, and they are more into a people relationship? Monica?
Absolutely. It's what we said before, it's about purpose.
and the new generation needs purpose. These are themes that they consider as a valid purpose. I only need to make a remark that when we focus from an European perspective, and at a certain level from an Asian perspective, this is 100% true. When we focus on other regions as Latin America or Africa, this is not 100% true. We basically here, I can mention from Brazil perspective, usually very large entities are supposed to be focusing and giving attention to sustainability, usually to fulfill the tick that I did my homework, but we still don't see concrete measures and definitions on that. Differently from Europe, I was 10 days ago in Berlin in the meeting of my group, and I heard from a lot of people from the local institute about that. So in Europe, this is something that came from decades. It's different from those that are talking about it. But anyway, independently of being sustainability or being other focus, once we demonstrate the social value, the social purpose of what is there, this brings attention to the profession, and I'm sure it is already helping somehow, and it will help even more to attract and to retain the new generations and our profession. It's not, as I mentioned during my speech, it's not about thinking on the new generation, Z generation or whatsoever. It's about the profession, and it's about the meaning of the profession in the society. This certainly, we need to pay attention not to lose this opportunity indeed. Sometimes we discuss about it, but we consider it's too difficult. We don't know from where to start, and sustainability is a great example for that. We don't know what to do, we don't know the concept, we don't know what are the right answers, and this is a characteristic of the accountancy profession. We are more reactive, we are not proactive. So we are waiting for the right answers before we start. We need to pay attention, because otherwise we'll have managers, engineers, whatsoever, doing the work that, in my point of view, we are more prepared than anyone else to develop. So it's important not to lose this moment.
Yes, I fully agree with you. That's a very interesting point, because this point of the climate change and such points are very important in the society. And now the awareness of the function of an accountant comes into the public interest, and so you can see if we could say, and we should say, that we are able to help and to improve such things, and so the function of the profession will be with a higher awareness of the necessity of our profession. It's not only to arise the money for the states. It's a good example for having a new task and develop new skills and having the awareness from the public interest. I think it's a good point, and we should use it for our publicity, and it's a possibility to show young people that we are very important.
I think the professional accounting bodies have realized or have identified this issue. Philip Turnbull earlier on mentioned that AIA is incorporating sustainability issues in the professional examinations. I know ACCA has done that, and at least with the UK professional bodies that I am familiar with, they have all, now whether they were proactive or not, I'm not sure. Reactive, definitely, and it is the responsibility of the professional accounting bodies to bring this out to the younger generation so that they no longer associate the accounting profession with mathematics. One of the problems of the accounting bodies is that they or rather, the students never realize that out of 15 examination papers, only 2 or 3 are accounting. Economics, management. Yes, but when you think of a professional accounting qualification, you only think about numbers. You have to bring this out.
Thank you. Dear audience, now it's your time. If you have questions, if you have good practice to share, please. Yeah, 2 hands.
Thank you very much. My name is Vernon. I am a consultant. I'm working with the AIA here, but I work with a consultancy that works across a lot of different professions, so not just the accounting profession. I think I have good news and bad news. The good news is that when you talk to architects, lawyers, engineers, they are all debating this issue about attracting, retaining and upskilling talent. So the good news is this is not a problem that the accountancy profession alone is struggling with. I think the bad news for the accountancy profession is that some of those other professions, and Monica and George have mentioned this, are much better at articulating their social purpose. So the reason why doctors and engineers are invited into schools is that children know that doctors make people better, engineers build roads and things that mean we can get around, and railways and all that sort of thing. The problem for the accountancy profession is I think we have lost the ability to articulate social purpose. And so, for example, if you think about the tax profession, most people in most countries think the tax profession is there to make sure that you pay as little tax as possible. The social purpose argument would say, no, a tax professional should be there to make sure the right amount of tax is paid so that it can be used by governments to provide health services, education services, etc. Now some people might say, oh yes, but in my country, if I pay tax to the government, it gets embezzled, it gets used badly. Yes, but there is an audit profession in many countries, the public sector auditors, who are there to make sure that taxes paid are allocated to the social purpose for which they are designed. So I would just like to say that I think this idea of social purpose is something that the accountancy profession, IFAC, really need to get more in focus. And just one last thing, I think we haven't mentioned very much the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 of them. Many times in the accountancy profession, we talk about sustainability, and it's more around climate emissions. There are 16 other UN Sustainable Development Goals, to which most of them, the accountancy profession, should play a vital part, providing good education, health services, and it's all because if you can control the money properly, those things get done. So I'd just like to echo those comments, but to say that in terms of competition, all the other professions are looking for their own salvation in sustainability. And I think a smart thing for the accountancy profession to do is not only make sure that it is harnessed to those sustainable development goals, but is thinking about what comes after sustainability that will really make a difference in attracting, retaining and upskilling talent. So I just want to make those remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is a different view from somebody who's not an accountant. Oh, you are, sorry. Martin?
Yes, Martin again. It's very interesting, and if I look at it, technology is not the solution. But what I look through the day, it's the branding and what you mentioned. There's the branding of the accountant, which my other person already said. What is our role in society? And I know in 2013 there was a person who said accountants will save the world, and it was never picked up correctly. Now it's, let's say, sustainability is something we can say, yeah, we can save the world. But if you really want to attract new people, it's really going to the right channels, social channels, not Facebook, not Instagram, because that's for the old age people, but find the right channels. And I agree with also with Carlos, the previous one, start early, because the role of the accountant, even now, I'm since 1990 in the accounting industry, and still my children doesn't know exactly, that's my problem, but they don't, what is an accountant really doing? They're doing a lot, but what is their role? And to make that clear, it's very important. And also, I looked up in Google Trends for the last 12 months, where the accountant as a search was used. Zimbabwe at 1, Ireland at 6, the Netherlands at 27, and before that, they're all non-European countries. It's really, let's say, in Europe, there are not much people searching on accountant, and if you're not found on the internet as a title, then you have an issue. So for me, it's not also very important to see that even Google is looking at the trend and say, yeah, Ireland is the first one, and then 27 is Netherlands, yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else with a question? If not, we are exactly, or, yeah.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Sometimes I think the problem is what's happened to me. I'm on the last line here. During all the conference, I never had the opportunity to speak. I raised the hand many times, and I don't have the opportunity. Sometimes the problems with the accountants are very close to that. The accountant profession is defensive. Sometimes the accountants are on the last line of the company or the business, and sometimes because the accountants are defensive, are supportive, are shy, sometimes the accountant profession is not visible to the persons and to the world, and sometimes probably for the young generations. We have a big change in the world in the last years, not just the technology, the way we see emotions are being very transformative. This new revolution is not just like the old revolutions to get longer or to have new tools to do things better. We have now a revolution, a technology revolution that also involve our brains and our emotions. So the younger generations normally feel the things differently, more strongly, want to have different experience with different and a lot of complexity. In the accounting mindset of being defensive, sometimes defensive, very constant, with routines, sometimes for the new generation that have probably different emotions and want to feel different experience, more strong, like or not like. So it's different, and I think the defensive characteristics of the profession have to change a bit. Like for example, my case, I am on the last row of the room, so nobody cares. So the accounting profession, as a defensive, see risks, not opportunities, are less visible. I think maybe it could be good to think about the mindset and how the position of the accountant in the company, in the business, the visibility, in the opportunities to match the new type of emotion and experience of the new generations.
Thank you. So we have to teach our accountants to step up and stand up for themselves and for the profession. Yeah, another question.
Thank you. the debate and the comments that the panel have made has been very useful, and I have the sympathy and I understand what they're about. There's one thing that puzzles me. There's certain type of person, young or old, who chooses a profession. And if you look at the census between now and say 30 years ago, there is the same number of or percentage of students or young people who are attracted to the accountancy and will join the profession. All we have to do is to change the image and the perception that the general public has of accountants, not for the young people that are going to the accountancy, because they will join. There's a school of accountancy, people are studying accountancy, and they're only 18, 19, 20. So what would they go and join, study accountancy if they don't want to go into the profession? So I think that percentage is there, is the general image of people of accountants that they consider as boring, which I don't think we are. Okay?
So, again, our image.
I am not in the last row. My name is Alina Barcikowska from Poland, and I can say that I am now startup in the field of audit, and also I am working on the solution for our problems as the accountants and auditors. So my idea is to make other point of view on the business model. So the biggest companies nowadays, they are looking on the value who is provided by the businesses. So I think when we are talking about who we are, why we are not so good seen on the stage, maybe it's the problem because we couldn't communicate what's our value to the maybe this value is, I can say, historically it was okay, but now it's now very sexy. So we should think maybe about that. And what else? The biggest companies like Amazon and so on, they are working on network effect, and we should also go outside our businesses, our accounting practices, for such conferences organized like here, for other ideas, other solutions like platforms, and simply change ideas. Maybe it will be something new. Somebody from the last row will be the best in the ideas, not from the scene. I was also VIP, as I said, but now I'm thinking from the basis. What is important for us? Where are the problems? And I think that we should have a look what is really the value of our accountancy. From the perspective of new businesses, we should also think about the value for startups, because our historical driven standards of accountings are not proper for them. As accountants, from the historic point of view, we are data analysis. And data analytics are now very cool profession, yes? And accountants not. So maybe we should think over and brand somebody in some other idea, like data analysis from accountants. Thank you.
Thank you. As we are over the time. I would like to close this session. Stephen mentioned previously ChatGPT. I was also playing with it. I asked the question about the problem that we discussed earlier. I received the answer on 3 A4 sheets of paper with 12 tasks and solutions for those tasks. I mentioned ChatGPT because on April 23rd, there was an article that ChatGPT failed to pass the CPA test. 2 days ago, just 1 month after that, the same ChatGPT passed the CPA test. It wasn't the same. Okay, it was upgraded. It's now the time that we accountants go home. With this information in mind, I would like to go back to your words, Monica. Staff are the most valuable asset of the firm. Investment in talent, management should be a top priority. And this is what we have to keep in our minds. I thank you, all three panelists, for good words.
And before they escape from the... before you guys go, can I please give you a gift? Again, from... I'll start with Monica for me as our keynote. George. And Marcus. And Alexander, thanks so much for being a great moderator. Of course, had we used ChatGPT, they would not have got any chocolates. Thanks.
Thank
you. We're now drawing to a close, so I will ask to come up to the front, Salvador, and on behalf of Paula, Franco, we have somebody to present from OCC.
Muito boa tarde a todos. Irei fazer a minha intervenção em português.
Good afternoon. I will be talking in Portuguese because it makes me feel much more comfortable. So I do apologize for my colleagues who speak English, but this is the way we should do things. It is an honor for me, and I would like to thank EFAA on behalf of Salvador to have had you here today, and also thanking IFAC, IASMA, for being here today and giving us the opportunity to have a panel of speakers and trainers of exceptional quality. It was amazing contribution that we had here, so that in a simple yet practical way we were able to address the market trends, then the role that the chartered, the PAOs may have, and then obviously a main topic, how to attract, retain, and upskill talent in accounting. I would like to thank you all, and especially the speakers. I'd like a round of applause, please, because they deserve it. Today we are all wealthier as we leave this room. We had a great contribution for us to have better knowledge today, and so that we can be better prepared for the future that is coming. This contribution we had for a better future for small practice will also be a better future for society as a whole. The OCC will always be available to host you, and the invitation goes out then for next opportunity for Salvador and other participants. I thank you all for being here, and now I hope that you have a safe return home. And obviously, I apologize for the fact that the representative of the order could not be here today, but because of the profession's future, she is unable to be with us. Obviously, I don't have the institutional weight she does, but I am on the board, so this is the way of thanking you all for being here, especially Salvador. Salvador, please, the floor is yours.
Let me close with a few reflections on the day, as well as thank you to those that made today possible. The profession is facing unprecedented challenges. Perhaps the biggest challenge relates to talent, our people. No? As a profession, our prosperity and progress on the quality of our people. It is clear, no? Today, if you remember the three sessions, the three panels, always we were speaking around this idea, no? They are our most important asset for us, no more so than today, no? Which is why we must get better and attracting, retaining, and skilling talent. This is our challenge for the future. No, today we share our ideas and insights and can a way better inform and better equipped to address these challenges. I am sure, because the speakers are excellent. No, the thought takeaway for me is that we must change. We must change our mindset, our leadership, and the profession's DNA. Of course, we will keep our DNA, but perhaps we should adapt step by step, no? A little bit to face the new challenges. And quickly, we should do it and quickly, no? I am confident that we can and we will, no? Let me say to you one story. No, many years ago, as a student, I created an accounting firm with another law student. Many years ago. No, I was in the faculty. We had an investor, the other colleague's father. The accounting was done by hand, by all. Well, we invested in a new technology, computer, and new software, accounting software. No, it was our decision, and at this moment, new technology appeared, and suddenly we call one investor. Okay, you can put money there in this computer. And these investors told to us, you know to manage it? Of course, we know. No, it's a lie. No, it's the first time that we saw one computer and one new technology similar at ChatGPT. And then we take almost the entire market in our area. This is the key, the innovation, the new technology. There is the question. We should adequate training for our people. That's for today, and of course, for our professional accounting organization, we should defend of our interests before the regulator. No, for one hand, is the training, new technology, new skill. Things like that, and for other side, the professional accounting regulation, we should work in this area, in this defense of our interests for the new regulation for the future, no? And of course, other important skill for us is work, and always I say the same to my colleagues. Please don't look close, don't look near. Please, looking far away, because it's important. Put the focus far away that you know. This is my history that today I would like to share with you. No. Let me end by saying thanks to those that made today possible. To OCC, is President Paola De Franco, Pedro Nones, it's okay? Pedro Nono, their staff for being such great host, Carlos Meneses and your team, thank you so much. Our eminent speakers, in particular, was Asma Remuski, President of FIFA, thank you so much. Monica Forrester, again, thank you so much. Next year, I will call to you, sure. Stephen, Mike, thank you for your excellent activity, explanation, and work. Of course, I am happy to convince to Barry Wines with my specific phrase. No problem, Barry, you can go. Was excellent too. Thank you so much to Marcos Tuschen, excellent as usual. George, Josefans, and Adriana, of course, our moderator, and Alexander and Paul Thompson. Thank you so much for our compromise today with us, and thank you so much for the rest of the delegates of our 15 members, EFA 15 members, for attending this meeting. And of course, thank you so much for the EFA staff. Thank you, Sarah, for your compromise, for your commitment always with EFA. If you help, this organization will be impossible. And thank you so much again, Paul, and thank you so much our excellent board members, special advisors, Richard, Robin, Esther, of course our member, the different some expert group that we have in IFA, a lot of members. Thank you so much for your activity. Thank you so much for providing ideas, and thank you so much for help and to grow this IFA family. And last but not least, to the delegates in person or online, many of whom are small and medium-sized participants based in Portugal, over 200. At the beginning the session, I look more or less 180 people here. Thank you so much, Joao. I am saying to you now. Several hundred more have viewed the live stream. No, I am sure that the next year we will have another interest session. Enjoy Lisbon. It's a very nice city. See you soon. Okay. Thank you so much. Sarah, it's okay? It's close? Okay.